It is day 23 now of the government shutdown, and joining us, House Speaker Mike Johnson. Mr. Speaker, welcome. It's good to have you on.
Good to be with you as always, Joe.
No King's Day has come and gone. Some people thought that Leader Schumer was waiting for that, to look strong for his left flank, and then something was likely to break. Are there any signs of that? And we don't see it reported, but we've been told a couple times that senators are constantly talking to each other. Senators are talking to you. Senators, House people are talking to each other and to you. What can you tell us?
Well, I'm one that really believed that after the Hate America rally on Saturday, that's what we called it, because it was, funded by George Soros and co-sponsored by the Communist Party of the USA and many other nefarious groups. But we really thought that after that display, that Chuck Schumer would come to his senses. Remember, he's been in Congress for 44 years, and every year until now he has said, and he even said this year, as recently as March, that shutting the government down would cause great pain to the American people, and it could never be done, should never be done. Well, he changed his tune because he's trying to appeal to that radical leftist base in the party, because he's terrified. Because the last time he did the right thing, when he voted for this identical CR back in March, he took a lot of heat. He's unwilling to do that again because he's afraid he's going to receive a challenge from one of the Marxist leftists in New York, or maybe AOC. So that's really the sum total of it. Yesterday, Joe, we're losing heart a little bit, because yesterday, the second-ranked Democrat in the House, Catherine Clark, was on an interview that you probably saw a clip of because it's gone around the world, and she said the quiet part out loud. She said, "We know that families are going to suffer because of this shutdown, but," she said, "this is one of the few leverage times we have." She admitted that they have chosen to shut the government down to use the people as leverage, and real people are being harmed because of it.
Well, they believe that this Obamacare subsidy, or at least what would happen if the subsidies weren't renewed, I guess, in her view, what's happening, it's the lesser of two evils. No one wants the government to be shut down. She thinks it's that important for health care. And you've heard all whenever we have a Democrat on, the Speaker, they spend most of the time with anecdotes about people with cancer and what's going to happen and people that are going to die and all these things. I had just an overall question for you, and then we'll get back to the government shutdown. There's a piece in the Journal today on how quickly health care insurance is rising. Up 7% 2 years ago, 7% 1 year ago, 6% this year. So it costs $27,000 now for a family plan. So my question is it Obamacare premiums are going up because they're causing it, or because they're just responding to overall health care inflation, which we haven't been able to control?
Well, these are very important questions, but before I answer that, let me say this. When they say they're using the shutdown as leverage, what is it they're trying to obtain out of that? What's the point? It's not the health care subsidy extension. That's a red herring. That's their talking point, distraction that they've globbed onto. They actually put on paper, Joe, what they want. They want $1.5 trillion new dollars of wasteful spending. They want to prop up leftist news organizations with the Corporation for Public Broadcasting with $500 million. They want to send billions of dollars back overseas to social programs in foreign countries. We're not doing that. And importantly, they want to extend those Obamacare subsidies permanently without any reforms. Oh, by the way, restoring health care to illegal aliens again, that's $200 billion of their demand. That's what they're leveraging. They're using the American people as pawns in this game to leverage to get all of that, and we can't and we will not do it. On the subsidy, it's a very important point. The cost of health care has skyrocketed since Obamacare was created in 2010. It did exactly the opposite of what they promised us. The Democrats did that entirely on their own with no Republicans, because we knew that it was a boondoggle. We knew it was created and that the system was designed so that it would implode upon itself. Remember, the main architects of Obamacare wanted single payer. They wanted the government to be in charge of all health care. So they designed this system, and it's doing exactly what we all knew that it would ultimately do. The subsidy is a COVID-era subsidy. The Democrats created it themselves. They put the expiration date on it at the end of this calendar year. And why did they do that? Because they knew they could not reasonably argue or get the votes for a permanent subsidy like this. When the government subsidizes something, it means it's not working. And what we're doing here is subsidizing insurance companies. So we need massive reform before that could be extended.
Right. I think everybody saw New York Congressman Lawler confront Leader Jeffries with a one-year extension. And now I understand that 13 House GOP lawmakers, led by Jeff Van Drew, Jen Kiggins, did send you a letter saying we should do a one-year extension. I guess that's what they're proposing.
Well, they did, but in the letter they acknowledge what I just said, that it needs real reform because
is that a way this ends? Is that a way this ends, Mr. Speaker, or that's not what happens, do you think?
Well, no, look, Joe, it's a very important point. We were always planning. We always knew that October and November would be the time to figure that out and build consensus around the reforms and get everybody together. But it's ironic that the Democrats have shut the government down and prevented that from happening. That is the whole point. We need the lights back on. We need government reopened. We need troops paid, TSA agents, Border Patrol agents, and air traffic controllers, and Veterans Health Services, and nutrition services to young women and the elderly. We need all that going while Congress is here doing its work. But Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are playing politics, again, because they need political cover for themselves. It is selfish and it is dangerous.
Speaker Johnson, Ro Khanna was here earlier, the Democratic congressman from California, and he asked us to ask you if you would open the Congress so that you could have votes. He said he would support paying the troops, paying those critical workers for the government. He would vote for those bills along those lines. He asked if you'd do that.
Well, Ro's my friend. I have great respect for him. But he did vote against those very things on September 19th. That's what the CR was. The continuing resolution was to keep all of those people paid, and every Democrat in the House voted against that. They voted to close the government down and stop those services. Now, if we were here today and we had another vote on the floor, it would not change that outcome because the Senate Democrats just batted that down last week. They voted down pay for troops and the defense appropriations bill. They're going to do it again, I think, today because Leader Thune is going to put on the floor a bill to pay essential workers, all those categories of folks that I just named that are, putting on a uniform every day and protecting the country and protecting our borders and making sure the skies are safe. And the Democrats have already told us they're going to vote against that. So it would be a pointless exercise in the House, and that is why I keep emphasizing the House has done its job. We voted to fund the government. We voted to do all these things 33 days ago. And that bill has been sitting on Chuck Schumer's desk. They will not pass it over there, again, because he promised the radical left that he would show a fight against Trump, no matter the pain that it causes on the American people. And now the Democrat leaders in the House are admitting that that's exactly what they are doing.
Mr. Speaker, Ro Khanna also mentioned the situation with the Arizona House member that has not been sworn in. And I guess there's a lawsuit that's been filed by the AG out there. It gives Congressman Khanna an opportunity to say that would be the vote that would allow the Epstein files to have to be released. And he said that's why you're not calling back Congress to swear her in.
Okay, this is so absurd, and I've answered it so many times, but I'll do it again.
Sorry.
Rep. Grijalva-elect is no. Thanks for asking it, Joe, because they keep using this as some sort of distraction. It's totally pointless. Okay, Rep. Grijalva was elected after the House went out of session, so we are delighted to administer the oath to her as soon as we get back to regular session here, legislative session. That's the whole point. By the way, I'm following the Pelosi precedent. She was Speaker here a long time. She did this many times. Julia Letlow, my friend from Louisiana, was elected in similar circumstances to replace her late husband who passed away from COVID. Nancy Pelosi took 25 days to administer the oath to her. We had Pat Ryan and Joe Simpolinski, Democrats, who were elected during an August recess. Nancy Pelosi took 21 days to administer the oath to them because she had to wait until we came back to legislative session. Same exact scenario. Rep. Grijalva can work. Rep-elect Grijalva can work for her constituents right now, constituent services, answering the phone. She has computers and 16 employees, and there's no excuse for it, okay? The Epstein files are being released. 43,000 pages now. There was another batch of documents dumped on Friday of last week, which included Epstein's personal ledgers, his financial ledgers, his daily calendar, his flight logs, all the things that people have been saying they wanted, it's all coming out. Why? Because the House Oversight Committee has been working through this period, even when we're not on the House floor, to go through and dig through the Epstein estate files and all the rest and get them out. So these are all distractions from the main point. They have shut the government down for political purposes, and we got to get it reopened.
Speaker, we spoke to your predecessor, Kevin McCarthy, earlier this week, and he made an interesting point, though, about what you're describing, which is that it is politics. And I'm not suggesting it isn't. When you even look at what Nancy Pelosi did, and we could just, if we wanted together, we could say this is a disgrace and condemn the fact that politics are taking place here and that there is a precedent. But I think rather than look to that, the question is, it doesn't have to be this way. This is a choice that's being made. And I think that is the issue here. And so this idea that it can't be done in some other way. And I'd raise it because the other issue is, what would happen if you actually took those votes and hard votes and won those votes? Wouldn't that be the better path?
Well, I'm not sure what you're referring to because we did that. I mean, look, the CR that we sent over is a totally clean, nonpartisan document. It's 24 pages in length. It literally is the bare minimum language just to keep everything at status quo. And I will point out to you, status quo is Biden-era policies and spending. We don't even like it. Republicans are trying to change that. But our appropriators were working through the process, trying to rebuild that muscle memory to get the regular order back to appropriating so we can be better stewards of taxpayer dollars. And in a bipartisan fashion, R's and D's were working on that. They just ran out of time because the end of the fiscal year was September 30th. So they decided, think of this, the Republican and Democrat appropriators got together and said, give us 7 more weeks. Give us till November 21st, and let's just do it clean. And the Democrats asked us, please don't put any partisan priorities on that measure. So we didn't. We did it in good faith. This is the first time in American history that any party has had the audacity to shut the government down over a clean, nonpartisan CR. I cannot emphasize that enough. That's what's different about now than all the times in the past. Both parties fighting over party priorities. We didn't do that this time. I have nothing to negotiate. I have nothing I can offer them because I can't pull any of my Republican priorities off the CR and make it more palatable because we didn't add them in the first place. This was a good faith effort to allow more time for the appropriators to finish their job, plain and simple. And that's what makes this so remarkable and so especially painful for people.
There's also been reports, Mr. Speaker, that Leader Schumer would like to have almost a backroom negotiation. Maybe it would involve President Trump. Maybe it would involve a Majority Leader Thune. Maybe you as well. To just get a couple of things out, not the whole 1.5 trillion, all the things that you outlined, but maybe just the Obamacare enhanced subsidies. Can you confirm that has been something that Senator Schumer? Yeah.
Yeah, I can confirm it. He said it publicly, breathlessly. He's complained that 4 leaders won't go in a back room, smoke-filled room, and make a deal. That's not how this works. I don't operate that way. When I became Speaker, I vowed to my colleagues that we would return to regular order. I would decentralize the Speaker's office, and it would not be a top-down, hoisted upon the membership kind of program anymore. This is a member-driven, consensus-driven operation. That's how the founders intended it to work. They did not want 4 people to go in a back room and make a deal. By the way, I couldn't do that on something as complicated as extension of Obamacare COVID subsidies because we have to find the consensus. There's 100 different ideas on how to improve that, and we needed the time in October and November to work through that with all the members. I refuse to go in a back room with Chuck Schumer and make a deal. I don't operate that way. It's not good for the people. It's not good for financial stewardship. And it's part of the reason we're $37 trillion in debt as a nation, because you have 2 or 3 or 4 people in a back room doing that. We're not operating that way. That's Chuck Schumer's old way. We need this to work for the people again. And that's what I'm insistent upon. And I'll keep telling them that publicly and privately.
We had Senator Shaheen on earlier this week, and she was, on someone's wish list as maybe a Democrat that could be swayed to join with the other 3 to get the additional 5 because she's not running for re-election. But she gave us no inkling that was in the works. Are there other discussions that you can tell us about that you've heard of going on? Is that the way this ends, that people break with with Leader Schumer, or is it going to be done with Leader Schumer?
I am afraid that you're going to have a few more break ranks, and that's my prayer that they will. There are a handful of centrist Democrats left. I mean, she's one of them, who are reasonable and common sense and have voted every time in their career to keep the government open. As recently, as I said, earlier this year, 13 times during the 4 years of the Biden administration, they voted on CRs, and every one of those people gave speeches on the floor and in media interviews saying how important that was to do. I do not have any hope right now that Chuck Schumer is going to do the right thing. I think it's too late. I think he's lost in that cause, because he knows that if he folds to the Marxist left, remember, Marxism is all the rage in New York City right now. You're watching the mayor's race, right? He knows he's going to get a challenge from AOC or one of the other Mamdani disciples in his race, and he will lose. He's not very popular right now, obviously, because of the way he does all this. So he knows that if he folds right now, he's going to take it on the chin. So our objective right now is to plead with some common sense Democrats who care about the country more than themselves and do the right thing, pass the nonpartisan CR so we can get the lights back on, get Congress working for the people again, and sort through all the rest of these complicated issues for the rest of the year.
Okay, so we get that done eventually. Hope springs eternal. We get some kind of deal for a 1 year, extension on the subsidies. How do we prevent that from being the 10-year, $350 billion boondoggle that's going to happen if we don't fix what the underlying cause of the health care inflation? What do we need to do? What are Republicans?
Such an important point. We have volumes of ideas that we literally have published to bring down the cost of health care and stop the madness. We have to build consensus around those to get it done. But I'll give you a quick example. In the big, beautiful bill, in the Working Families Tax Cut that we passed and got signed into law July 4th, we included in the House version of that bill the cost-sharing reductions model. It would have brought premiums down 12% for the average American, and it would have saved taxpayers $30 billion. You know what they did, the Senate Democrats? They took that provision out of the bill. They fought it. They got it batted down in the Byrd Rule analysis, and they kicked it out of the bill. And you know what that did instead? So now they want to extend the Obamacare subsidies. Remember, the cost-sharing reduction, just that one measure, would have brought premiums down 12%. The Obamacare subsidy extension is going to increase premiums. In some categories, it would drop at about 5%. 5.7% is actual number. But it's going to cost us more, because doing that will cost, as you said, $350 billion over 10 years. We have to change the system. We have to find ways in a bipartisan manner to make Obamacare affordable for more people, to increase access to care, and to stop the practices of the insurance industry right now, which are denying about 30% of claims automatically or more in some categories, and the prices continuing to skyrocket. When the government dumps more money on a bad system, it makes it worse. And that is the reality. We have to make everybody face that, and then we got to build the consensus around the solutions. We have lots of ideas. The Republican Party is the party ready to fix that, and we're demonstrating that every day. We brought down costs in Medicaid, and we strengthened the program in the big, beautiful bill, because we got ineligible enrollees off the program, and we brought down the cost. It's going to save, the CBO says, the measures that we did in that bill on Medicaid, for example, are going to save $185 billion. So they're good ideas, Joe. We just need time to work through the consensus to do it. But we got to get the lights back on here. Again, we got to open the government so that all of that can happen.
Speaker Johnson, Ro Khanna did agree with some of the things you just said. The idea that he thinks part of the problem comes from a private industry that is not paying for, premiums going up and not paying for a lot of the for the procedures that people request or that doctors request too. He mentioned that. He also said he agrees that the Republican Party has good ideas. He came up with the idea of President Trump's executive order on Big Pharma, said that he had put legislation before the House that he would like to see a vote on that would codify that executive order that the pharmaceutical companies seem to think will get struck down by the courts. Are you in favor of doing something like that?
Well, look, I'll say this about Ro. He's a good man. He's a very intelligent guy, and he's always operated in good faith around here, and I appreciate that about him. And Ro and I and others can sit around the table and, like I said, in a bipartisan manner and work through some of these things. And they're good ideas on the table, but we got to have everybody here doing that. And we're not going to allow Chuck Schumer to hold the American people hostage so they can get $1.5 trillion new dollars in spending. Remember, don't get lost in that. That's what they filed in the record. That's what they are demanding in exchange for opening the government, and they know we can't do that. So it's time to come to their senses and stop the nonsense. Stop using the people as leverage, as Democrat Whip Clark acknowledged yesterday.
All right, we know you got to run, Mr. Speaker. Once again, thanks for all your time this morning.
Thank you. Appreciate it.